However, in the end, Ziran said that he didn't need to worry because they wouldn't send a strong team as his opponents. One of the rules of the Grand Colosseum was that first-level bloodlines and powerhouses above the divine level couldn't take part in the battle. With those exceptions, there wasn't anyone stronger than the Shrek team who could fight against them. They should stay cautious, only because the number of opponents might increase to a level that makes it difficult for them to win. The end result of winning the contest was that the winner would be able to break through to the divine level in a much easier and more comfortable way. After briefing him about the Grand Colosseum, Ziran introduced him to the arrangements they had made for the battle. There were still 4 days left before the contest, thus it was imperative for San to get familiar with all the preparations. As San saw the preparations, he was relieved. At that point, he was assured that the Lingxi clan had his back. It seemed as if they had bribed the Colosseum. When all the things were discussed clearly, San asked for his leave and returned back to the hotel, where he met Zhang. He appreciated how well his teacher had acted. If there was a real Master Lu, he would have been no different than Zhang. San told his master about everything that happened after he left. When all the reports were given, they both went outside to the local shops to buy some of the necessary stuff for the battle. San had planned on setting up a soundproof array in his place. Zhang bought all the materials for him, and after he had gone home, San taught him how the array was made. In that hustle and bustle, it was almost evening. The sun was about to set when the other team members of the Shrek team returned from their hikes. At the dinner table, San arranged a short meeting and informed everyone about the necessary instructions to stay safe during the battle. He mentioned his partnership with the Lingxi clan, too. Since they all had gained enough experience of the palaces, he ordered them not to go on hikes anymore, and to spend that time in the preparations for the battle. He himself had planned on taking some hidden weapons and array discs, which he brought along to the meeting and showed them. Taking hidden weapons was necessary because they couldn't fully trust the Chamber of Commerce's arrangements. They couldn't simply rely on them for everything. In the last few days remaining before the battle, San focused on making hidden weapons and discs. They were all so busy in the preparations that the day of the battle had arrived within the blink of an eye. The sun of the most awaited day had officially dawned. The Shrek team members were quite nervous, but they kept trying to keep themselves calm. They traveled to the Lingxi Chamber of Commerce. They kept their faces covered with masks. At the chamber, they met Ziran. He gave each of them a special suit to keep their identities concealed. Along with the suits, they were all given cards with a number written on them to verify their true identity. The Shrek team numbers were from 11 to 15. Before leaving, he gave San a storage ring and reminded him again of everything they had prepared for the battle. When they got completely ready to leave, a carriage was booked specially to take them to the secret location, the Hell Garden. As they entered the carriage, its doors and windows were completely sealed to keep the participants from knowing the true location of the Hell Garden. Traveling in that carriage was as if being blindfolded. They were even given eye shields to create pitch darkness. There was no way to peep outside. About 2 hours later, they had finally arrived at their destination. Outside the main entrance of the Hell Garden, the participants were disboarded from the carriage. They were to walk to the battle from that point onwards. The secret gate opened, and all the participants from different teams were called inside. Once inside, they were allowed to take off their eye shields. The area inside the main gate was just a regular area with barren land and stray plants. San visualized the other participants for the first time. Surprisingly, they were all dressed the same. There was no difference among members of any team. They all looked alike. That could create a problem for them during the fight. After traveling a few steps into the barren land, they reached a strange building that bordered the actual battlefield. In front of the buildings, a few heavily armed men were standing. They asked the participants to show their numbered cards for verification, after which they would be allowed to enter. They even threatened to kill any person who had entered without a verified card number. The participants slowly began entering by showing their cards. San was amongst the middle ones to enter. As he came near the gate, he realized that it wasn't some ordinary kind of building. It was merely a small plane attached to their planet. Now, he understood the reason why he didn't let the people above the divine level participate in the Grand Colosseum. The small plane would be way too small to accommodate them. The place would become chaotic in their presence. Showing his card to the investigating officer, he entered the gate. To his utmost surprise, it wasn't an aircraft either. As soon as he stepped inside, there wasn't any ground to support his feet. It was all air. It was an empty space. No wonder why they were given such heavy suits to wear. Those suits contained the parachutes that kept them floating. San was extremely anxious. How could he fight in the air? Nothing made sense at that moment, but luckily the stressful period was over soon. He floated for a few seconds and then landed on the ground. The landing was so harsh that it made him lose track of everything. As he regained his senses, he realized that he was sitting in a beautiful garden among the most beautifully scented flowers. Was it the Hell Garden? Indeed it was. His teammates landed beside him too. Now that the whole team was together, San revised the rules of the Hell Garden, which Zirin had told them. The garden had only one exit, so they should run towards it as soon as possible to avoid any unnecessary inconvenience. Coming to the Hell Garden's beauty was breathtaking. There were two kinds of flowers in there, the cold ones and the warm ones. The warm zone was safe as compared to the cold zone. Every now and then, songs would be played in the garden. Upon playing songs, an exit gate would appear. However, the duration during which songs would be played, the safe zones would reduce, and the danger zones would expand. In other words, the warm flowers would be replaced with a large number of cold flowers. The songs would be played for variable time spans, but when they are played longer than the time required to completely replace warm flowers with cold flowers, the exit would be closed. From that moment onwards, no one would be allowed to leave. The ones who left before that moment would be the lucky ones. San took a quick scan of the garden and saw that more than 2/3 of the garden was covered with warm flowers, which meant that they had a greater chance to exit in the beginning. They summoned all his team to stand in the warm zone. San was so mesmerized by the enchanting allure of the beauty. The floral scent was so soothing and calming. He couldn't stop himself from touching the flowers, but as soon as he touched one, he was shocked. All of a sudden, he felt an intense, monstrous, evil thought that tried to swallow his spiritual willpower. His teammates were staggered to see his condition like that. He immediately retreated his hand and forbade his companions from directly touching the flowers. There were tons of evil thoughts hidden under the blanket of apparently beautiful flowers. Dubai, upon hearing that they were surrounded by danger, told everyone that they shouldn't wait for the song to play and then escape. It would be much better to run and find the exit even before the game began. He was desperate to contribute to the team contest, so he used the Heavenly Fox's luck, which he had absorbed when he went up the peak. His perspective was that he could navigate the exit with the power of luck. As he cast the spell, an illusion of a Heavenly Fox appeared. It was still in its formative stage with a single tail, which was to turn into 3 tails. When it matured, San realized that its tails had turned black near their ends. He was taken aback because black tails were a sign of bad luck. Dubai had accidentally used the spell of bad luck. They could end up in huge trouble due to the accident. The cold flowers, which were away from them, slowly grew towards them, and the warm ones disappeared. The situation had intensified to the extent that the dangerous cold flowers had almost reached the area on which they stood. In that time of terror, San served as a savior for the Shrek team. He used his time change skill to slow down the growing cold flowers. Immediately, the rate of growth slowed down but didn't stop completely. Time change couldn't save them from death. San realized that some other powerful skill was needed to supplement the time change. He used the purple demonize aura to completely halt the progress of the cold flowers. Eventually, they stopped growing just a few inches from where the Shrek team was standing. What a close escape it was. Dubai was crying and wailing the whole time. He was pretty sure that he had used good luck. How could it turn into bad luck all of a sudden? San warned him from using the Heavenly Fox transformation again because there was something wrong with the environment of the Hell Garden. He knew that the Ancestral Court had placed a tricky plot in that area. To tackle that efficiently, he said that he would make some dangerous moves and attempts, thus moving away from the rest of them to ensure their safety. After walking almost 200 to 300 meters away, he stopped. That amount of distance would keep them safe. His friends, who were gazing at him throughout, were instantly shocked to see that he stopped just at the border of warm and cold flowers. What was he up to? Was he trying to do some strange stunt by walking into the cold flowers? They were extremely worried, but no one dared to stop him. Meanwhile, San, who was standing at the border, wondered what it would be like to step into the cold zone. He had something cooking in his mind, but for that plan, it was necessary to enter the danger zone. Perhaps he was trying to find out about the secret beneath the cold flowers. There was no better way to find it out than experiencing it himself. So he gathered courage and stepped beyond the border. As soon as he set his foot in the blue region, he was struck by a strong death aura. His feet were tugged by the flowers and were being pulled down by a strong suction. His multiple bloodlines and life aura were rapidly being drained. He tried to remain steadfast and firm, and diverted his attention from the drainage by destroying one of the blue flowers. Just a second later, he could feel his body getting numb and cold. It was a sign of bad luck. The bad luck was entering his body. Did he do something wrong? Was the destroyed flower avenging him? To his surprise, the flower he just plucked and destroyed had grown back to the exact same size. What on earth was the philosophy behind that? There was definitely something wrong in that place. Dubai's good luck had turned into bad luck, and now that flower had regrown. Judging by the happenings, he concluded that the Hell Garden must have something to do with bad luck. Since San had absorbed the power of bad luck back on the mountain too, he thought of using it against the bad luck of the Hell Garden. Most probably both of them would clash and lead to a new result. He released the bad luck aura immediately without pondering over it further. A few seconds had passed, but nothing changed. Everything was the same. The cold flowers were still growing, and the warm ones were regressing. However, when he released the bad luck, he could feel his perception connect to the space. He could comprehend and perceive things situated thousands of meters away from him. His mind could sense countless evil thoughts, and bad luck spread all around. Upon further contemplation, he noticed that all the bad luck converged towards a single point, which could be the source of its origination. What exactly could be there? It wasn't any good thing for sure. Suddenly, a mesmerizing and hypnotizing song was played in the background. San almost lost his attention for a while. He was attracted to the site from which the song was played. Surprisingly, the sound was coming from the same direction as that of the bad luck. They could be linked to each other. As he looked around, he spotted a light pillar. It was the same pillar Zoran had told him about. He said that it was situated opposite the source of bad luck. Out of the blue, he heard his mates calling him. There was an emergency at their end. They had spotted the exit already, but Zicheng had fainted because of the song being played. San rushed towards them and used his purple demon eyes to wake her up. The song had been blocked by the purple demon's eyes, which caused Zicheng to regain consciousness. As soon as she got up, they rushed towards the exit. The exit was gradually moving out of sight as the cold zone was expanding. It wasn't easy for them to reach the exit. Due to the strong suction force of the ground, flying wasn't possible either. They couldn't cross the cold zone without flying. In those circumstances, Bingji put in some effort and built an ice boat. They boarded onto it, and Zicheng blew a strong puff of air to slide it quickly through the ground. San was totally lost in the song during the journey. The sound was only music, but he could comprehend the lyrics mingled in it. He clearly understood that it said that heaven and hell were both located within the earth. The same series of events continued for half an hour, after which the song finally stopped humming. The transitioning of warm and cold zones paused too. The light pillar, however, remained at the same position. San was constantly looking for the source of bad luck. It came from a vague direction. He wanted to reach it, but the foremost task at that moment was to safely bring his team members to the exit. All of a sudden, he heard a very familiar voice coming from somewhere very close to him. As he thought hard about it, he realized that it was the Crystal Great Demon Emperor's voice, which came from the egg that he had given him as a token. San screamed loudly in confusion, but the Emperor calmed him down by saying that he had attached a spiritual form of himself to the egg. He was going to remain with it until it hatched.